Welcome back to another Heart to Heart with Statton. Today I'll be doing an influence run while covering over the subject that's on my mind today. Now, to start out with, I would like to apologize for not keeping up with the schedule that I have laid out on my channel. I usually post, try to post a video once every Wednesday and another video every Saturday. Things have gotten really busy for me around the holidays, but I am going to try to get back on schedule. Today, to make up for the lost time, I'll be posting today on Friday, and I'll try to post another video Saturday. So hopefully tomorrow will be the starting point of getting back on schedule. Anyways, also a late Merry Christmas to everybody. I know it's actually a couple of days late, but all the same, I sincerely mean it. Anyways, I honestly wasn't. I had a different subject in mind when I was going to do this video, but something happened last night that just made me shelve my previous subject, which I will do at a later time. But now I have what I think might be a more important subject to cover over. Now, you see, I was going through an epic dungeon with one of the members of the guild I belong to. For I'm not sure she'll want me to give the full character name, so I'll just give the short nickname we gave her, which is Ice. Now, she is a very wonderful lady. Now, she wanted to take me through one of the dungeons, and this is a master dungeon. This is a dungeon that's not easy even for level 80s. Now, I've learned the hard way once I finally reached level 80 that being at the highest level doesn't make you strong by any means. It makes you stronger, obviously, than those who are lower level than you, but that just leveling up and maxing out your level is that's just the very basic and just the very beginning. You're still technically a beginner, something that I'm still learning, and that there are other ways, some arguably more important ways to become stronger. One is to gain boons, which will help up your stats depending on what boons you choose as you go through campaigns. And the other, which is the more common way, is to refine your armor and the enchantments that you give your armor to always up their levels. Now, I've done that quite a bit since I've joined the guild. I am a lot stronger because, as you see, I'm defeating these monsters now. In the beginning, I couldn't solo these things. When I first joined the guild, I was, as I always put it, a glorified paperweight. Then I gained enough strength and power to where I was able to solo these, but I had to go through a lot of healing items. Now I'm able to solo some of these things without going through next to any healing items. But anyways, Ice, she knows how to make strong characters. She won't admit to it, and she'll say there are times where she'll say she doesn't know what she's doing, and I believe on a certain level she believes that, but she knows more than most would, and she knows more than what she'll admit to. She's good at making very powerful characters, so when she goes through a dungeon where she is struggling, that's saying something about the dungeon's difficulty level. And to me, that's no biggie. I think the challenge is what makes the game fun. I'm gonna keep trying to make Statton as strong as I possibly can, but I don't think a game should ever get to where it's so easy that there's no challenge left to it, that all victories are suddenly handed to you. I know there are some people that would disagree with me, but to me, the challenge is a part of the fun. Remove the challenge, where's the fun? And really quick, I'd like to give you an example, then I'll get back to where I left off. Is when I was a kid, and I used to play the old Super Nintendo games, I once bought a book that gave cheat codes, and some of the cheat codes were codes to make your character invincible, so you couldn't die, and that just made the game simple to where you could reach the end and see what it's like if you didn't have the skills to get through on your own. Now, I thought that was so cool when I first got the book, but as soon as I used the code, to make my character invincible in some games, it didn't take long for me to grow bored of the game. It didn't feel the same. They say that cheat codes are put in the game to make the game feel like new after you've had it for so long, which is why the cheat codes are back before the internet was as commonly used as it is today. That they put that in the. I don't know if they still do it today. I think they might do it, and they may go about it differently now that people use the internet for everything. But used to be that they made the games, they put the cheat codes in, but they wouldn't release information for the cheat codes till long after the game has been released. Well, they did that to make the game feel like new, like I said. For me, the game didn't feel like new. It just took the fun out of it. It was cool for the first few minutes, but I got bored really quick. And after a while, I shelved the games and didn't play them for a long time. But once I started playing them the right way, without the cheat codes, the fun came back because there was the challenge again. And to me, the challenge, to this very day, I think games should be challenging. I don't think people should rage whenever they die, and there are some that do that, and that when they lose, because where's the fun if you win everything effortlessly? Anyways, now this takes me back to the subject I just left off. We were going through this dungeon, and we were struggling. Now, this one person in our party, we were grouped with random players. He was losing his patience with us to where he was saying things like, "We don't belong in this dungeon," and I think he was saying it to pretty much everybody. He wasn't just limiting that to Ice and I. I could be wrong, but judging from the reactions of the other players, I think he was actually getting after everybody. Because people started shooting off comments his way, which he quickly deflected with answers that I think were not true. Like, because he mentioned that he was making comments like how we were terrible at the game, and people were making comments like, "But you're great at this game, right?" And he would just say, "Yep." Well, Ice had about enough of his mouth. Wasn't really his mouth because she and I had it set to where we were in our own party chat, so he put it in the text box at the bottom of the screen. Well, she said, "Because you did well at a master dungeon your first time, right?" The person just said, "Yep, I made sure I was ready," which the person may be telling the truth. I'm not going to say they were lying for sure, but I don't believe he was being honest, because no matter what, even if he took a long time to build his character, even beyond growing to level 80, I don't really think it's possible to enter in a master dungeon and actually knowing ahead of time or being sure ahead of time if your character can cut it. For one thing, I've had Statton for a long while now. A long while, and this is the very first This is one of the first master dungeons. If it's not the first, it's one of the first. I know that much. And, well, as long as it took me to reach the point where I was even good enough to enter in these dungeons, because if you're not strong enough item level wise, you're locked out. I doubt this guy would have the patience to take the time to reach to my level, my item level, and then take even more time to make it so he's okay with it. He might have, but as short his patience was with us, I seriously doubt he would have the patience to take the extra time to make sure he was good enough. I don't think it's like I said, I don't think it's possible to know these things ahead of time. Sometimes you just gotta make sure you get your item level up to where you're no longer locked out. If you want to take a little extra time afterward, you can. But even then, you don't know what your skill level is going to be until you give it a shot. Now, to me, whether if he was telling the truth or not, though, is not the big issue. The big issue is, even if he was the perfect player, even if he was this great player he claims to be, where he got through his first time in a master dungeon without a hitch, without any problems, he was still being a toxic player in the end. He spent most of his time belittling everybody, and to me, there's too many players like that out there. Now, I know. I said in one of my previous videos that when you're playing a game online or on the internet in general, you gotta have thick skin, and I still stand by that. You do have to have thick skin, but at the same time, there's no need for all this toxic these toxic vibes, these personalities, these people that exhibit bad attitudes and try to belittle people. There are new players to this game. There are people that step into these dungeons that are new. You don't need to treat them like garbage just because they're new and just because they're not as strong as you. Now, I'm not saying all of you, the viewers, are doing that. I know it sounds like I'm lecturing all of you, but I'm not. Because I imagine there's quite a few of you, maybe even all of you that see this video, that are in full agreement and have had these type of experiences. But these people, unfortunately, are out there. And I do not understand why they play a game where they lose their temper on with everybody else. Because after it was done, I did feel irritated. I did feel a little angry. Not so much because of the... I mean, if he was just talking about me, it wouldn't bother me so much. But it's the fact that he was directing it toward almost everybody. If not everybody, then almost everybody. And I could tell Ice was bothered by it too, and that's what fed into my irritation, and I started to get angry. Well, I started talking to Ice, and I started asking what appeared to be on the surface to be a stupid question. I was like, because it's like, I told her I was bothered, and she said, why? And I said, well, this is supposed to be a game, isn't it? And her answer is, last time I checked, which she said it jokingly, and she laughed, and so did I. And I said, but games are supposed to be fun. What's so, on both sides of the argument, what's so fun about being belittled by someone else? And on the other side, what's so fun about losing your temper and your patience in a game to the point where you belittle others? Where's the fun in that? If you're playing a game and you're finding yourself getting angry and irritated with, whether if it's at the game itself or at the other players, why even play? games are supposed to be fun. If you're not having fun with a game, don't play it then. Find it, either stop playing video games altogether, or at the very least find a game that you actually are having fun with, because you're never going to convince me that you're having fun when you're losing your temper and that you're showing very little patience to the other players. It would make more sense to me if we were trolling him, which we weren't. This is I'm still learning this game. I really am. My first time going through the dungeon. In fact, there was one point where we considered leaving, which we actually did leave the dungeon before we completed it, but we were actually considering leaving sooner because we had died facing one of the bosses in the dungeon, and there was a platform we had to get across, and the other players had done it before we got to it. We weren't sure how to get across. It was too far for us to jump. There was, in red print, it said jump spell. Well, we didn't know what a jump spell is. I certainly didn't have any. My character wasn't built for magic. We thought, whenever those words flash by, we have to try jumping. Well, it turned out we had to get across in a way that we would have never found out on our own, because there was no instructions. There was no way to know. One of the other players had to pipe up and say, as soon as the jump spell words flash, that we have to hit the square button. And after we hit the square button, that's when a warp circle appeared. Then we had to aim it right at the platform. And then we got to the platform and then used the same method to jump across to the other side. Now, we now know what to do if we ever come back to that dungeon in the future, but there was but had that player not have said anything, I can guarantee you there's no way we would have known on our own. There was nothing in the game to teach us or indicate to us how to do it. But somehow that makes us so terrible that was one of the things. We were so terrible that we were deserving of being belittled. And to me, that's just not right. Everybody, seriously, I understand. Nobody likes to lose. Games are meant for us to try our hardest and to win, and to make our characters as strong as possible, and to always succeed, but even so, in the end, it's just a game. It really is. If you lose at this game, trust me, your life is not ruined as a result of it. You're gonna be fine. No need to lose your temper. Unless there are more important things to get mad about than losing at a video game. There is the real world with real problems. We all have stresses we have to endure in life. Video games are a way of escaping temporarily, but escaping nonetheless those issues and those problems and leaving them behind and having fun. Ice and I died so many times in that dungeon, and I wasn't at all bothered by it. I was more bothered by that other player's attitude. But the truth be told, I'd rather have a group of players that die in a dungeon over and over and over again than to have that one player who is awesome at everything he does, apparently, in a video game, doesn't die once, but belittles everybody and makes them feel like garbage for it in the end. That's not right. It is. I'd rather have low-level And Ice is not a low-level player. I'm just saying I'd rather have low-level people that are still new to the game, still learning, and struggling just to get by, but still have good attitudes about it, than to have the world's best players that have the crappiest attitudes you can imagine. Low level new people over toxic veterans in the game. That's how I look at it. I don't know how many of you would agree with that. Some of you who may even be offended by my words, and I'm sorry if you are offended by my words, but that doesn't change the fact that my words are still true. This is just a game. For those of you that watch this video that have the same attitude as that guy I mentioned, well, I can only hope that you learn something from all this and that you eventually change. And for those of you that do recognize that this is just a game and has faced these type of toxic players, I am sorry you have had to endure those times, and I'm sorry that as your time in the games progress that you'll endure more and more of those times. And I said, yeah, and yes, you will endure more and more of those times. There may not be, some of you maybe more often than others, but unfortunately when you're playing online games they're pretty much unavoidable. But I hope that doesn't ruin your fun for these games, and I certainly hope that over time you don't become like those people. Try your best, but have fun with the game. Take my character Statton, for example. I can't tell you for a fact that when I built him, that I made him the best I could as a rogue. A lot of rogues have attacks that are more area based, in the sense like there's one special attack a lot of rogues know, where it's like a spell that causes a lot of daggers to pop up out of the ground, which attacks and whittles down the health of multiple monsters. My character can do that, but I don't have him set to use that attack. There's another one where you can make a rogue toss his daggers, giving him a little bit of range. My character can do that, but I don't have him set to do that. I have him mostly attacks that can only attack one enemy at a time, and you have to be right up close to him, with the exception of the dagger spin attack, where that one I can attack multiple enemies at one time if they surround me and are right up against me. A lot of people probably don't like that build, wouldn't feel comfortable with it, and don't feel like it would bring Statton's potential out. But in the end, it's the build I feel the most comfortable with. It's the build that feels more like me. I'm going to try to make Statton as strong as possible, but at the same time, I'm not going to try copying other people's builds. Even if their builds are technically better than me, I'm going to build Statton the way I like him. And that's partially what makes these type of games fun, is to not only make your character stronger, but also to build the character the way you want him or her, depending on the player's choice and what they create the character. So, and it's like if you've seen my games where I play Fate, I decided to go with a different build. I created Statton, but made him into a wizard. Wizards on the surface seem to be more useful than a rogue, because they can use spells both in range and close up. But as you can tell by watching my videos, I struggle more with Statton as a wizard on the game called Fate than I do with Statton in Neverwinter, simply because it's a different build, and it's a build I'm not comfortable with. It's a build that isn't me. I just did it to try something new. So remember, have fun, be comfortable with your character, and treat others with respect. It is just a game. It's supposed to be fun. With that said, this is the video for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. My name is Statton. Like, share, and subscribe, and you all have yourselves a wonderful day.